Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Ridiculous.
Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to another elusive episode of PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people that bring you the magazine that Dave's holding up. Look at that, Dave. You've really
Nice reveal, Dave.
Yeah, it really
I was
was.
going for the slow,
It had a very
steady one as
dramatic
opposed to
look
the
to it.
flip thing where I could injure myself. And it would be good.
So are you talking down about the flip thing?
No, I just thought only you can do
The
it.
flip served us for so many years.
I tried it and I poked my eye.
Snapped.
You really should have done it for old time's sake there, man.
There we go.
Brought to you by Photoshop User.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back. Matt Klaskowski here with Dave Cross,
Hello.
Corey Barker.
Hello.
Ooh.
Okay, Corey. What kind of mood are you in?
No move.
For all the ladies out there,
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
and for all the men, Pete Collins.
That's right. How's it going?
Hey.
Pete, you look a little,
I'm not quite as sharp now. They've
you look a
toned
little
down my
less
light
bright,
a little.
but not much. You're still kind of bright. Hey everybody, welcome back. So we have another show for you, and we will not waste any time in getting right to it. Dave Cross, what do you got for us today?
Well, just a little reminder of the importance of camera raw smart objects in just your day-to-day operations. Make your life simpler. So I have this photograph. I was in Venice a couple years ago, and every day the sky was just really light gray.
Blah.
Just blah. So I want to replace another sky in there, and when I take my quick selection tool, it's so bright that I'm losing parts of the building that are too close to the background. And rather than spend an awful lot of time trying to fine-tune my selection, I have previously set up, in fact, I have this as my default in Camera Raw, that it opens in Photoshop as a smart object, which basically just creates a nice two-way street between Photoshop and Camera Raw. So that means that I can say, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to make a good selection of the sky, so let's make the job of the quick selection tool easier by temporarily kind of wrecking my photograph, but it's only temporary, of course. So now it'll go back to Photoshop. Now when I take the quick selection tool, it does a much better job, a more accurate job. Now I can go back to Camera Raw and say, okay, that was only for that purpose. Now I really want the buildings to look like this. And when I click OK, the selection is still there. So now all I'd have to do is just decide, for example, this guy, select all, copy, come over here and choose the old paste into under paste special to get my new sky in there. Maybe lower the opacity just a little bit so it looks a little more realistic. But the whole point is you're not making a permanent change. If it was a normal Photoshop operation, anything you do like levels or curves would alter it permanently. Because it's a Camera Raw smart object, I can go back and forth as many times as I want, and it preserves whatever selection or mask, whatever else you're working on. So it's just even at this point, I've done all this, I can still double click one more time and say, maybe I want to change the temperature just a little cooler, whatever I want, knowing that I can go back and forth. And as a result, I know we've had this conversation before, someone asked me some question about curves, and I went, you know what, I don't remember the last time I used curves because I use Camera Raw and just go back and forth. It's just easier than trying to figure out where to drag
Camera
on
Raw
the
does
curve.
curves and then some, a whole bunch of other things too.
Now, you said you set that up so that you'd have the go-between. Is that a complex thing, or is it easy to?
Well, it's only complex in the fact that it's not obvious, because a lot of people, when they're in Camera Raw, they look at all the other settings and they miss this little setting down at the very bottom. If you show my screen, you can see this. It just looks almost like a little information bit, but that's actually should be a button that says click me. Click here. This is important because this is your workflow option. So once you check this little box, it means from now on until you uncheck it, you will have created a two-way street, and instead of saying open, it'll say open object.
And if you don't want to check that little box, one of the things you can do is just hold down the Shift key, and you'll see a little button that shows up at the bottom that says Open Object. And
see, I have I do it the other way around. I always have it turned on the rare instance I don't want a smart object. You Shift click to open it normally.
You know, I never knew that.
Because that way my default is open as a smart object, so on the rare instance I can do it the other way.
See, that's what I love about this. I mean, each one of us has a different thing, and we'll come in here and go, oh, okay.
I learned
cool.
something new today.
Yep.
All right, so real quick, so you guys can watch, if you can't watch us live for this show, one thing you should know is that on kelbytv.com/on-air, you can often watch us live for either this show, if we happen to be recording it when you're watching, or a lot of the other shows that we do. So just check it out over at kelbytv.com/on-air for any of the live options for our shows. All right, PD.
Yep.
What do you got?
I got a quick tip for you that is really about helping you to understand what's going on in Photoshop.
Good, 'cause I have no idea.
Especially what I'm talking about is especially like if you upgrade, you get the new CS6, and you want to know what the different things do. You either got to Google, you got to do all these things, but one of the things that's really going to help you out is if you come to Photoshop up here in the menu and go to Preferences and then go to Interface, make sure you click on this icon right here that says Show Tooltips. And the reason why you want to do that is now whenever you come up to an icon, even if it's grayed out that you don't know what it does, and you just let your cursor hover over it, it'll sit there for a minute and then it'll give you the explanation of what that is. And I have more often than not, if I've been confused about what a tool does or what's in there, I make sure that I have that tooltips on and I'll just sit there and let it explain to me what it does. And it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And so if you're ever curious about what's going on with the tools that you have or whatever's showing up, make sure you put on Show Tooltips and it's going to make it a lot easier for you.
I'd like to, can I add something on?
Please do.
Because the other, I mean, that's a great when you're trying to figure out what something does, but I think a lot of us, when we get a new version, the first thing you do is look under every menu to try and figure out what's different.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Adobe's done the last few versions, there's actually a workspace called What's New in CS6, and it actually color codes any menu that has something either changed or different. So that way you can kind of cut to the chase and go, oh, this is new, and then once you're in there, use the tooltips to kind of figure out, and if you're like most people, and then you very quickly turn that off after like a day because it becomes really annoying to
Well,
say.
you don't want to let other people see you with those
Well,
up
exactly,
there.
yes. So I usually go back to something.
I've used that Once New workspace often, almost every version, just
Yeah,
to
it's
kind
a
of
good way to
breeze
kind of
through,
find
yeah.
out what's going on, what's new.
Well, because you can watch stuff, but if you can get in there and play, it's going to make all the difference in the world for how quickly you pick it up. And so that's my tip.
Very good.
Good tip of a tip.
All right, so we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Matt's probably got something, I'm sure, and Corey,
think
that's
so.
pretty much the way it works.
I'll think of something over the
We'll be
break.
back shortly. Hey, look at that. We are back again from another break, and right away, because we just have such great anticipation to know what Matt has come up with. Let's see what Matt has.
Great anticipation. All right, so my little tip / tutorial here is I'm actually pointing you at somebody else's website, something that I think is pretty cool. So who uses Camera Raw? You use Camera Raw?
Yes, sir.
Pete, use Camera Raw?
What?
Corey, not.
I've used it a couple. I've used it a couple of times.
All right, so anybody out there, if you raised your hand that you use Camera Raw, hopefully you feel my pain, and that is you're inside Photoshop and you're working on a photo, blah, 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 blah. You're doing something on a photo. And you look at it, because you came, generally you probably came from Camera Raw. You opened it up into Photoshop. And you're like, crap, there's something else I want to do in Camera Raw to this photo. And so you're looking at it and you realize there's no way to get back to Camera Raw without going in and starting from scratch again. So my tip is Russell Brown, who is an evangelist for Adobe and a Photoshop evangelist for Adobe. Russell Brown has these killer scripts on his website. So if you go to russellbrown.com, just click on the scripts link and you'll get right to where I am first. I would highly suggest you read the README first, because I did, and you'll learn some things inside of there. But if you scroll through here, this isn't the one I'm talking about, but this one's really cool too, the Adobe Watercolor Assistant.
Notice, by the way, how they spelled color properly.
Yes. The Adobe Watercolor Assistant's very cool. And he's got videos for all these things too. But I'm going to scroll down to the one that I like the most, and that is Edit Layers in ACR, Adobe Camera Raw. So what this does, when you install this script, you're going to go back into Photoshop, and you're going to go, if you come under the File menu, you go down to Scripts, you'll see something called Adobe ACR Editor. And then you're also going to see a little button that appears right over here. And it's just got two very simple steps. The very first time, and it tells you, and you should watch the video, but it tells you you got to set just one little tiny preference in Camera Raw. It makes it easy for you. You don't have to do anything. Here's where it gets cool. Is so now I can work on my photo, and let's say I go through here and I'm editing, and I try to clone out a couple little tiny distractions here and there, any little spots or whatever it happens to be. And then I look at it and I realize, you know what? There's something else. I want to maybe, the sky looks kind of blue. Maybe I want to add a little bit more warmth to it. I want to get back over into Camera Raw. So I can click on my little Edit in ACR, click on it, and it's going to take me with that layer, whatever layer I had chosen inside of Photoshop, it's going to take me over to Camera Raw. And now I could do something like a graduated filter, add a little bit of warmth to it, and maybe just pull that down from the sky just to kind of warm things up a little bit up there, and then click OK. And it's going to take me back over to Photoshop with the updated image. Cool. It is a feature that I wished was incorporated into Photoshop. I think everybody that uses Camera Raw wishes that we had some easy way to go over into from Photoshop into Camera Raw.
Well, especially in this case, I mean, my demonstration before meant you had to specifically start off by saying, go from Camera Raw as a smart object, but then you can't take an existing layer and go, now that I've done whatever it is, healing, cloning, I want to go back to Camera Raw.
Yeah, and that's the difference. You're like, and I would still recommend people, if you like using smart objects, make sure you turn that option that you showed on, because that gives you that round trip. But like you said, once you add the clouds, if I wanted to take the version of your image with the clouds on top of it and jump over into Camera Raw, I wouldn't be able to. I can jump back and forth.
Wait, russellbrown.com.
russellbrown.com. So that's why I think it's a great feature. Hopefully one day we will have that feature incorporated right into Photoshop. But
so
until that day,
tell your friends at Adobe, we want that as a built-in feature.
Yeah, seriously. But until that day, you can go head over to Russell Brown's website and you can download that, as well as many of his other very cool scripts.
Very nice. Corey Barker, I see your name.
So, displacement map. So I have my image here of these numbers here. It's just a generic background, and I've got this creepy dude on this background here.
Have a creepy look.
He looks evil. So I'm going to take this and bring it on over to this image with my numbers. And when you're creating
He still looks creepy.
So when you're creating the displacement map, you want to make sure you're working with the same size file, if not in the same file, because your displacement map will look weird if you bring a large file and displace it into a small file. So that's where we're going to bring this one over here. So I'm positioning it. You can actually help your positioning by dropping the opacity down. If I just bring it down to 50%, I can see where he is falling in relation to that background. I'm just going to nudge it over to the right a little bit there, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to 100%. Now I'm going to make a duplicate of this entire document. Just go into the image menu and go to duplicate. And we'll create that. And I'm just going to flatten it. Dave, don't look.
Turn away, Dave. Turn away. Corey, I already know what you're going to do with this, and I'm pissed at you.
And really?
Because it looks cool. I know what you're going to do, and I don't know how you figure this crap out.
This is something I've run into with displacement maps. A lot of people will take an image like a face like this, and then make a duplicate, make their displacement map, and it doesn't always look right. It usually gets a little jagged. And if you have too much detail in your image, that can be a problem. So what I'm actually going to do is first make this image black and white, and I'm just going to use a simple gradient map technique here. And then I'm going to go to Filter, to Blur, and do a surface blur. Now, the reason I'm using surface blur is that it's going to keep the edges nice and sharp, but it's rather going to remove or lessen the detail in the overall image. I'm actually going to increase that a little bit there. That almost looks kind of cool in itself. It kind of looks like a little illustration. So click OK there. Now this is going to be my displacement map. So I'm just going to go and do a save as. And we'll call it displace something. That's a really original name. And we'll just save it to the desktop here. There we go. OK, so now back to our image here. I'm going to turn off this layer containing our fellow here. And I'm just going to create a duplicate of the background. And I'm going to, one reason I like, again, use smart objects is for the filters, because you can apply them as smart filters. It allows you to go back and re-edit them and make changes if you want.
Okay, so you're forgiven for flattening now since you said that.
Okay.
I believe the filters are our future.
So I'm going to convert this into a smart object.
Teach them well
here.
and let them lead the way.
Show us all the beauty they possess inside.
Give them a mask to hide.
I don't know the lyrics, so. So anyway, on this smart object, I'm going to go to Filter, Distort, and choose Displace. Now, it would be great if the Displace panel had a preview so you can actually see what your result's going to be.
kidding.
Sadly, you have to kind of guess. So now in this case, I'm just going to go with 50 for the horizontal and vertical scales, and then click OK. And when you do that, it immediately asks you, what file do you want to use for your displacement map? Well, remember, we saved the document to our desktop where... Or no, it went inside the folder. Did it? There it is. So, displace, and we'll click open, and watch what happens to the background. Just, ooh.
Dude, that's cool.
So it really distorted. But now, remember we dragged that original document over. I'm still going to use that, so I'm going to turn that layer on, and then change the blend mode to something like overlay.
I hate you more.
So it gets a little even brighter. Now, if it seems like it's saturating a little bit, too much of the letter or something like that, just take the color out of that layer. I'm going to press Shift-Command-U, and it makes it a little less intense there, but we can get those eyes kind of coming in there.
What blend mode did you change it to?
Huh?
What blend mode did you change it to?
That is overlay.
Try soft light, too.
Soft light I tried. Lost a little bit more of the detail.
It's a little bit less punchy than overlay.
A little less punchy, so certainly try those. Again, use that keyboard shortcut for blend modes. The Shift plus key will toggle you through your blend modes, and just when you stumble, oh, that was kind of weird, creepy cool. And you just stumble upon one you might like or might not like, and then you just go, that's weird.
That's pretty neat.
That one's not bad either. So I mean, there's obviously you have a lot of choices here, but I think you're right, Matt. I think I might like soft light for that, but. That's a way you can take and make. Now look, I just thought of something. May I?
Sure.
I'm going to make a duplicate. I notice his eyes are really dark. You know, you can see in the image. I want to see the detail in his eyes a little bit more. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that original layer. And let's put that in screen mode. And put a hide all layer mask on it. I'm just going to hold down Option key on Mac, Alt on Windows, and click on the layer mask icon here. And then let's go back with a gradient and just bring back those eyes a little bit.
Turn around.
And it makes it
Every now and again.
Makes it a little creepy. And we'll just colorize those eyes a little bit there. And now we have creepy cool binary man.
Binary man.
With a 2 in there. But actually cool. It kind of looks like it's got like lights that are projecting on the side of a face. So that's really the point of displacement map, is giving you the ability to use light and dark tones to wrap a graphic around another one. It's really, really cool. So.
Very cool stuff, Mr. Barker.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, hey guys, we're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we got a couple other things for you before we wrap up the show. See you in just a minute.
At Adorama, our trained staff share your love of photography and can help you find what you're looking for. Our inventory is stocked with all types of cameras and accessories you need. Adorama has it all. Adorama, more than just a camera store. Visit us at 42 West 18th or at adorama.com.
Well, hi everybody, welcome back. Photoshop User TV here, and we are just about ready to finish up the show. So we got a couple other things for you. We have a prize to give away, it sounds like we need to have a contest too, but Dave's got actually a contest-y type of thing. Our prize this week is Photoshop Masking and Compositing 2nd edition. So this was like a Bible for many, many years, and from Katrine Eisman and Sean Dugan. And then I think in CS5, some of the Refine Edge stuff came out, so they went and they updated it recently. So it's the 2nd edition. Very cool book. You can win it if you go to kelbytv.com. There's a little contest link, and just choose Photoshop TV. You'll be able to put in your name and email.
Just leave a comment, a suggestion, that kind of thing.
But for those of us, Dave, that want a question to answer, that have that
trivia
burning
junkies.
desire.
You have to
because
satisfy
you have an app for this.
Back in the old days of Photoshop User TV, we always had an actual trivia question that I'd always come up with, and that actually was the genesis, if you will, of this app that I created called the Photoshop Quiz Game, and it's a cheesy game show app that gives you, there's 600 questions on different levels, multiple choice, name that dialog box kind of stuff, just for fun, but you can learn a few things. So here's a question, just if you're interested, for fun. To hide all the guides in a document, what do you press? Either Command or Control semicolon, Command or Control greater than, Command or Control left bracket, or Command or Control right bracket.
I know.
One of that will hide all the guides in your document. You don't win a prize for getting that right. You just have to leave a comment.
Oh, I know, Dave, I know.
You had to look,
I know,
but I
I'm
knew
looking
it.
in Photoshop. And that's the thing. I suggest to people when they're playing the game, it makes it much more fun if you don't have Photoshop running. It is time-based, so the quicker you answer, the better your score. But
What?
anyway,
Just out of curiosity, Dave, last week's question, something with the airbrush.
Chain the airbrush on/off. It was Shift-Option-P.
Darn it.
Yeah, I kept trying to figure that out until I sent stuff off to the printer because I kept hitting stuff with P and it just kept sending stuff out.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for
What was that?
Thanks for joining us this week. Thank you to our sponsors, MPix, PeachPit.com, KelbyTraining.com, and of course the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the people that bring you Photoshop User Magazine. We would love if you would check them out. Corey, I love you all.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You started the show that way, Corey. It's
He did. He kind of
Corey's feeling a little.
I'm getting in touch with my feelings.
Yes.
It's getting in touch with my feelings this week.
Petey.
Yep.
Yep. That's great.
I'm here. I'm
to see
excited.
him over there.
It's just good to be in a different spot.
Davey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I feel like you got to put E on the end of everybody's
Maddie.
name this week.
Matty K.
All right. Anyway.
Anyway. E.
Blah blah blah.
Bye bye.
Blah blah
Bye
blah.
bye. E.
Blah blah.
Take care. Bye bye. See ya.
That was the best ending ever.